Hi, welcome back. I'm Teresa Bruno, the host of the Soul Talks podcast. And if you listen very much, you know that every single week we have a session. It's our early Monday therapy session with Sheri Ryland, our resident therapist. And I'm excited to talk to Sheri about the topic we're discussing today. It's something I wrote about in my book. I think it's something that impacts every single person on this earth, and that's judgment. Self-judgment, taking in the judgment of others. What do we do with that? What does it do to us? And so I'm excited for Sheri to kind of open it up for us. Hi.
Hi.
So nice
to be back.
Yes, so nice to always
Yes.
see you, and you just kind of spin my mind up and all these things that we need to think about, and you help us kind of get through them. So tell me what self-judgment looks like.
Well, I don't know if you've heard songs on the radio where there's one song that talks about the voices in my head, and that can go a lot of different ways. But with this one is the idea of all the people in your life that have been around you, that have taught you things about life, about what they think of you, what they think you're worth. And those voices continue to go with us. So those voices are in our head from when they were said all the way to wherever you are in life. And those become core beliefs. They become the I'm not good enough, or I could never do that. I'm not strong enough. Whatever it is that you've heard, or it could be I'm so great that I can do anything. My mama taught me that I could do anything, right? So it doesn't have to be necessarily a bad thought. It doesn't have to be something that we're never going to get past. It's just the things that are said to us stick, and they start to stay and form. They're looking for evidence. So if I've been told that I don't know how to make decisions, or that what were you thinking by what you did constantly, or that grade's not good enough, or why didn't you do more? Those things stick. So we feel like those voices come around with us. We may not realize it. May not really hear anybody's voice, but the idea is that you are carrying that around. And it's our job to figure out what do we do with these people that are still following us around? How do I handle this voice in my head that says I am not strong enough to do this exercise that I want to do so bad? I would never be able to make a marathon. We start to, even if somebody never said that, somewhere along the line, we have taken their words or their actions and made them our own.
Oh, 100%. And I mean, I'm just trying to figure out, okay, what does that look like, feel like inside of me? And, one of the things that I've seen so much in my life and have worked so hard to overcome, and it was the death of James that caused me to really look at all those core beliefs and the things that were driving me, because none of it mattered anymore when he died and the way he died. It's like it all just, it became, the ground that I had built my life on didn't exist anymore. Right. And so what comes to mind when you're saying that, and one of the things I've worked so hard on overcoming a negative, abusive childhood, was that I became so success driven. I had such a perfectionist mentality, and that can sound like it's okay. Oh, well, you just worked hard to be successful. Oh, you just worked all the time. But no, it's really not okay, because you get on this, loop that nothing is ever enough. No amount of success is enough. I'm not thin enough. I don't work out enough. I'm not a good enough mother. I'm not good enough in the boardroom. And so you're always striving to do more and more and more. And guess what? More is never enough.
It's never enough, right? We can never have enough time. There's only 24 hours. No matter how much money you have, you can't buy anymore. But we have tried to prove to ourselves that we can get more, that we can do more. There's always more. Even though the world and the way we live and the reality of space and time knows that we can't do that, we're still convincing ourselves, because somewhere along the line that was taught to us.
So how do we take the really awful negative voices in our heads that keep us in shame, keep us in isolation, those narratives. And we hear it all the time today. And we especially, it's heartbreaking where we hear it a lot with teenage girls. And, how do we shift that narrative over to something that takes us out of that?
Well, that's when you're in therapy, whether it's through EMDR or any other kind of talk therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy is all about reframing those thoughts, changing those thoughts, looking for evidence to show, you know what, that's not really true, because we get caught in the so-called evidence that says that we can't be enough, right? There's evidence in the world that says women can't do whatever, whatever that may be. We've taught ourselves over time as a society to believe that men are always stronger than women. Men have these roles we can never break into. Those are things that we over time have tried to prove or to show that's not true, right? So that's one of the ways, like as a society, we change. And as a person, we start to recognize what our body actually can do, what our mind actually can do. So through talking about it, working through EMDR to get through those stuck points of believing that I am not good enough, and realize that you are enough. And that's the part that once we are able to believe that piece, I am enough. I don't have to keep, it's not that I don't want to strive for more. It's that I don't have to keep running. I can do one step at a time and get to my goal.
I'm a really big proponent, you know me well enough to know this, that, our thoughts create our words, and our words really become our lives. We live what our words and thoughts are. And this last year, I've taken a lot of classes, and one of the ones that's been so meaningful to me is studying Marissa Peer's, what does she call it? Rapid transformational therapy. And the very core of that is about the belief, truly imprinting the belief that I am enough. I am enough just like I am. I've always been enough, and I always will be enough. And I think she has a process in some ways that's similar to EMDR, but she says something so simple in this book that she wrote this year, and it speaks to kind of the work that Wayne Dyer did in that our thoughts create our lives. She's like, take the words "I am enough" and put them everywhere you look. Put them on the mirror where you get dressed. Put them in your car where you adjust the gear shift. Put them in your wallet so that every time you open it, you see a life-affirming, value-affirming phrase that says, I am enough. And, I very early on in my life when I was reading Louise Hay's work about affirmations, I did that. And I think I was in undergraduate school going through some kind of big imposter syndrome sort of, which, was so part of being 20 or 21. And I started taking very positive affirmations and placing them around my world so that I was impacted constantly by something that wasn't the voices of my childhood. And in this last year, studying Marissa Peer's I Am Enough concept, I'm like, it's so beautiful to get up in the morning and just say, thank you. I am enough. I'm enough for anything.
Well, and that's the question, right? Who am I enough for? Who do I have to be enough for?
First and foremost, for myself.
Yes. Okay. That's the question. I agree. I'm enough for myself. And that's what we need to keep reminding ourselves is that, yes, those people or those moments in our lives where we've heard this idea. I'll give you an example for me. In my life, my husband asked my dad for my hand in marriage, right? And he said, in this house, we don't get divorced. There's no divorces in this family. Well, we got divorced. And the idea is that has stayed with me as that's a failure, right? So if you continue to think that you're a failure because of these things that didn't continue in the way that you thought they were, that's something that's going to stay with you. But then you can look at it also and say, it didn't work out. That doesn't have anything to do with my worth.
That's right.
Right. And so that's where we change I could use all the evidence in the world and say, yeah, I did get divorced. So there's something, I am a failure. But I can also look at the other evidence and say, that doesn't define me as to whether or not I'm married or not, or the choices, those kind of choices don't define whether I'm good enough. And that's where those go along with the affirmations. It's not just saying I am good enough. It's showing yourself, taking the thing in front of you that says I have to be this way, and say, no, I don't have to be that way. I can be the way that's best for me.
Yeah. So we're out of time, but do you have any last thing to send us off to with in the world that helps us, reframe our self-judgment? And I'll tell you one little thing real quickly. I've learned the less I judge myself, the kinder I am to others. Because so much of our judgment of others is to make us feel good.
Exactly.
So
right. And it's also the opposite. Once I start having self-compassion for myself, I can have it for others. But a lot of times we have to do it in the other direction. I have to show compassion for others first before I can start to say, oh, I need it too. So it has to be both ways. I have to be able to give, and that's where empathy comes in. If you're able to empathize with others, then you are going to be able to empathize with your plight and be able to say, you know what, I don't need to be there. I am good enough. I don't have to go down this path of saying I'm bad and keep fighting those demons. I can change that.
We've got to come back to this topic. It's too big for this session.
Yes.
But I think it's such an important one. So in closing today, thank you for listening. Sheri, thank you so much for being with us. And let's be kind to ourselves as we go out into the world today. And let's be self-compassionate and not judge ourselves, and then spread that out around you. And hopefully you feel better today, and you are enough. Absolutely. Thank you.